Oh, hello, darling. Oh, how they grow. You know, we're recording. Hello, welcome, everybody. Welcome to you if you are watching the recording. I hope that the change of time for today's call didn't catch too many people unawares. I did my best to make sure you got reminder emails with big, bold reminders and so on. But we have recordings, so it's all good. Now, today we are going kind of back to the beginning. So we've talked about managing your money over the past few weeks, which is awesome. And that's ongoing work for you, right? So just make sure that you do whatever you need to do to keep chipping away at it, to keep making those adjustments as you go. And to remember that it's an ongoing process, and the more time you spend with your planner, even if it's just, jumping in for 20 minutes a week while you're going through this process of getting everything sorted, it makes you more familiar, it gets you more comfortable with it, and, then you'll suddenly hit a point where you just, you're really intimately familiar with it, and you can just go in there, make some quick tweaks, see what's going on, do your regular income allocations, and it's happy days. So let me know, those of you who are here live, give me some hashtag evidence in the chat. Let me know what good things have been going on for you that we can take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate. And just confirming that as of next week, we are back to the normal time. I don't plan on any other changes. It's just the Infinite Possibilities Conference is on at the moment, and I have to work around it. We have a call next week, and then we have a week off. So just waiting for your stuff to come through in the chat. My computer's been really slow too, so that doesn't help. I think it needs a little cleanup. So for me this week, it's been one of the best parts of this week has been just reconnecting with all my friends. Oh, I'm so sorry. Just realized my microphone was a mile away. You'll probably hear me a lot better now. Good. If my sound is ever weird, just tell me, because it's probably because I push the microphone out of my way and then forget to bring it back in. Just reconnecting with lots of beautiful souls across the Pacific in that Infinite Possibilities community. That is always massive. It's always huge. And I always pinch myself thinking, pinch myself thinking, wow, I really do remember sitting in my lounge room, watching The Secret, and Mike Dooley was kind of one of my favorite teachers on that, and thinking, oh, it'd be so cool to do this kind of thing one day and to work with, imagine if I could work with or meet some of these people. And, to be part of Mike's conference now twice a year, for him to pay me and kind of just expect me to be there. Like I don't even get the email anymore that says, are you available? I just get the dates. So it's just awesome. Thoughts really do become things. And we'll talk about that a whole lot more today. All right. So we are going to talk about thoughts becoming things. We're also going to talk about quantum visualization, because that is the module that we're going back to. So we did the first 3 modules at the start of the live round. Then we kind of skipped ahead to help you sort out your money management system. And now we're going back, kind of finishing off the energetics today, talking about the power of visualization and why it's such a great idea for you to get into that habit and how to do it properly. And then next week, we'll talk about congruence, like how to bring it all together and actually make sure that, it all matches up, like your desires, your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, because if that's out of whack, then you're in for a bumpy ride. So that's what we'll talk about next week. Then we'll have a little break, and then we'll start talking about old money stories and all that really juicy, deep stuff. Okay, so we are going to talk about visualization, but before we talk about visualization, I'm going to just give you a little bit more, like, I want to just reinforce why we bother, other than you've been told it's a really good idea, right? So what I'd like to know, show of hands, who visualizes semi-regularly? Like, oh shit, yeah, I should do that. Jen? Yeah, awesome. So semi-regularly, I thought I'd start there, because anyone actually visualize every single day or almost every day? Cool. So it's interesting, right? I find that people can get into a habit of meditation. Like, this is generalizing, but I find that people will get into a habit of meditating regularly more easily than a habit of visualizing regularly. And I think it's because when you're visualizing, there is a bit of a critical mass you have to get to, where your nervous system just goes, oh, this is actually really fun. And this is starting to feel really comfortable. And we'll talk about how to do that, because visualization shouldn't be you trying to force something. Like, it's not about you trying to force medicine down your throat that tastes horrible, like, metaphysically speaking. It's not about you trying to fit into a mold that is uncomfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of people will do it like that. Like, they will go, I've got to visualize because I want this thing to happen that isn't here yet, or I want to get to a certain level in my business or my life. And they'll do the visualization, but it's got this really, push energy behind it. And Isha and I had a really great conversation the other day during focus sessions. Actually, Isha, I'm going to ask you, do you want to just do you want to share that story just briefly and talk about that push energy? Because it gives you a chance to recap it for yourself as well.
Yep. I've got a vacuum going on in the background. I hope it's not going to be making a noise for you guys.
Can't hear it.
It's one of those robotic ones. It's great. I love it. So you want the story of how
yeah, just briefly the story for context, but then talk that push energy.
So when I went to one of Miriam's workshops, like weekends in Adelaide, there's a great scavenger hunt exercise she makes us do. And we went off, and our group actually got everything on this hunt. And I don't think everybody else did. And I was quite pivotal in getting a lot of, I had quite a lot of suggestions in that. And so Miriam sort of said to me, well, what did you do? And I said, well, I really just was like, I remember looking at the list and thinking, yeah, sure, whatever. And almost like laughing at it and going, you know what, if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. If it won't, it won't. But I'm in Adelaide, and I was just like, I just wouldn't attach to it. I wouldn't get into it and go, oh my God, and start obsessing and where's that bird cage? And I just was like, you know what, I'm in Adelaide. Like, I'm walking up and down Adelaide, and this place is so cool, because it was the first time I'd ever visited it. And I was just like, I just chose to enjoy it and be curious and just not sweat the small stuff. And suddenly a whole lot of ideas just kind of flowing into me, doom, 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 doom. And I was like, well, what if we did this? And we checked all the fine print, and we could do everything that and what we did is one was we had to be videoed in front of a bridal procession. And in our group, everyone's going, where are we going to find that? Where's a limousine? And I said, well, why don't we just go and why don't we get a YouTube video? So essentially, basically, we put a YouTube video and then us, and we video ourselves, so we played with it, and we had actually a lot of fun, and we ticked all the boxes. But I think what Miriam pointed out, I didn't get attached. I guess, just enjoyed it. It wasn't hard at all. It was bizarre. It was just like, yeah, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So,
and you were talking about how you kept getting all this inspiration, not just of like things to do, like you suggested, it doesn't say in the fine print they have to be real 3D people, but actually like, well, let's go here, or why don't we go this way?
Yeah,
or
it
and
was
then
literally that.
There it was.
Yeah, it was literally that. It was very very spontaneous, and I think it just was like literally things would just pop in my head and I would roll with them. I didn't go, nah, that's a load of rubbish. I would just roll with them. And when we rolled with them, we ended up in front of the pictures that we were meant to be in front of. And it was quite bizarre. And I think it was also staying alert, you know what I mean?
So talk to me a little bit about the push energy, right? Because what we're talking about is visualization, and that's where people will go into visualization and they're like, okay, I have to visualize because this is how I manifest. And so I have to visualize all the things I want. And you mentioned the other day when we were talking, like we use that as a really great example of the push energy.
Yeah. So I think personally, I don't like visualizing because it puts me into scarcity. And then I start to feel like I've really got to make it happen. I've got to, and then I keep seeing the thing again and again and again and again and again, and it's like it's coming from a space of, I don't have it. And so that was I could tell just talking to Miriam, like I can tell I'm attaching because I can feel it in my system that I'm like, it's not fun and it's not curious and it's not almost like light and joyful. And isn't this amazing? Like, and so I'm very fortunate. The house we live in at the moment is a brand new house. It's a rental, but it's brand new. So like Miriam said, well, be in that house and just be like, oh, isn't this incredible? Like enjoy. And that's kind of what I did in Adelaide, is I enjoyed the process. I didn't go, got to get that house and I've got to go here and I've got to do that. It was just, I tried to keep it as light and as fun as possible. And I'm learning that when I go into push now, I just go, you're attaching, back off.
Yep. And so awesome. Thank you.
I don't know. So for me, it's a feeling in my body. It's very much, I can feel I go into that scarcity and I'm like, I got to stop pushing. So then it's like, nope, listen to music.
Cool. So I'd like each and every one of you that helps a lot. Thank you. I'm sure everybody else will agree with me because I think everybody can relate as well. And so I'd like you all to just take a moment to just the best possible way you can, and ideally write it down, share it in the chat if you like, but write it down for yourself at the very least. Like, how would you describe that feeling of push? Because that's your alarm bell. That's your alarm bell going off, going, oh, I'm heading in the wrong direction. And unfortunately, so many people have either been taught or didn't get the memo or convinced themselves that you've got to push through that and you've got to keep going. But you're actually just bringing so much resistance into the equation, and you're literally programming yourself into, this isn't here yet, this isn't here yet, this isn't here, this isn't here, it's not here, it's not coming, it's not coming. And guess what you're creating, and guess what energy you're putting out there, and guess what you're literally programming yourself for. It's not here and it's not coming, right? So then it's like, why the hell isn't it coming? Why the hell isn't it here? So it's really important that you become very self-aware. That's why we start with #notice. We want to notice, not just notice, oh, I've manifested this and that, but notice, where am I at? What am I thinking? What are the thoughts that are popping in my head, like including the ones I'd like to pretend I didn't just have? And how am I actually feeling? And the more you tune in, the more, you'll become tuned to that, and you'll actually also, have your little internal alarm bells going, oh, actually, I'm feeling that knot in my solar plexus, or whatever it feels like for you. I've gone too far. Like, I need to find a way to back up. And that's why when we talked about module 3, #evidence, I talked about when you start getting more specific, and money is usually the thing that we're talking about here. So when you start getting more specific around this is the level of income I want, or this is something I want to buy or have, you're getting onto a more specific topic. And so that's where often the resistance will come in. And so you have to really become aware of that. And if you're feeling the resistance, it's a sign to just wind it back a little bit, to give it some space so that the resistance can dissipate, and to go back to just like happy habits. That's why we start with happy habits, because if you just can manage to stay there, everything else will flow anyway. Thing is, there are things you want, and money is a common thing in our life, right? And so we can't just go, never think about money, just allow it to flow. Well, no, we can. We can think about money. We can absolutely go, this is the level of income I'd like. This is the kind of lifestyle I want to live. This is the kind of house I want to buy. We can absolutely talk about those specifics. We just need to make sure that we don't get blind to what energy we're bringing to that, because otherwise we're getting in our own way. And so, having said all of that, don't bring it into your visualization, right? That's why I give you these 3 rules. That's why I shared this slide again, which is in the training. 4 minutes a day is enough. 4 minutes is really quick. You can do 4 minutes. Anyone can do 4 minutes a day. Anyone can. 4 minutes. You do it just for fun. So it doesn't have to be visualizing what I want. Just visualize a great life. Like, think about it in terms of happy habits versus evidence, like monetary, financial abundance versus just abundance, right? So if you're noticing resistance in your visualization, go back to, I'm just going to sit and visualize some really fun things. And you want to ideally do it every day if you can, or just do it most days. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. If you don't do it every single day, some is better than none. So I'm going to give you a couple of hacks, a couple of reminders on how to make it easy for yourself and how to sidestep some of the resistance so that you can get into the groove. Because once you get into the groove, it's one of the most joyful things to do. So one is, you can, instead of I'm going to visualize what I want to make it come, hack number 1 is remember something really cool. Remember a time when life felt amazing. And again, start as general as you need to and get more specific if it feels comfortable. So you can just go back to like the most fun day I ever had, or the most, joyful, relaxed, abundant feeling day I ever had. I remember when we went and had that beautiful picnic in the park and there was nothing to do and the weather was perfect. We had just the right amount of shade and, the food was delicious. Like, it can just be something like that. Or it can get into, I remember that time, when I had that amazing outcome and result in my business, or I got that testimonial from that client, or that email out of the blue telling me how much I changed their life. And I'd almost forgotten all about them because we'd worked together, a year or 2 before. And then they messaged me and told them how pivotal that was for them and how much their life has changed. Like, remember cool things that happened. And that's why it's important to record them. If you've got a business, especially like a coaching service business, it's really important to have those folders. I usually call them client love, both in my emails and on my computer. And I just throw stuff in there that's not necessarily for me to use as testimonials, but it's just for me to remember that the work I do really matters and it really makes a great impact. So having those things, to reflect back on, you can just do that in your visualization, because it's about conditioning your body and training your mind into, this is how we view the world. This is the experience that we're having and that we're creating more of. And this is what we choose to focus on. Like, you can choose which way you want to turn. You can choose which perspective you want to take. And visualization helps you fast track all of that and make it a whole lot easier. Does that make sense? Yeah. The other hack that's really fun is, if you want to do some visualization around a future goal or desire that you have, take yourself beyond it. Meaning, Isha, tell me. Oh, sorry, she's just put her camera off because she probably has to go do something.
It's fine.
Have you got a
fine.
sec?
No, yeah, you're good.
Tell me, remember when it all came together and you finally moved into your own house, and it was like crazy how it all just happened and you never could have predicted it. So now that you've been living in that beautiful house of yours for a while, what does it feel like when you remember that time when you first like got to settle, get the keys, move in?
Well, so there's two scenarios. When we first came to Australia and the town we were living in.
No.
Yeah, this one.
So,
yeah.
Time out. Sorry, you misunderstood. So instead of visualizing, here's what I want, you imagine that you're past it happening.
Yes.
And that you're remembering it happening. So the first one I gave you was an actual memory, like when you first came to Australia and, you know, that story you shared with me the other day, or how you moved into this house. But now we're going future. But instead of just going to that, you know, fist pumping moment of, oh my God, it's really happening, which in that moment, remember how we talked about that feeling of course at the beginning? And when it feels like, of course, it feels like it's not really like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. It's like, yeah, of course this happened. This feels great. So if you visualize and you imagine the future, but beyond achieving the goal, then you take yourself back to a really relaxed, of course state. So it's acting as if, right? But you're doing it in a visualization. So this is where we're going, right? So just talk to me really briefly. Tell me a little bit about what happened when you finally bought your own house it's WA you're in now, right?
No. So that was in when we lived in Denny.
You're still not are you still not getting it? Isn't that amazing? Is everybody else understanding what I'm saying?
So this house we don't actually own. We rent it. But if
yes,
you talk about this house,
stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Sorry.
So you have got this like brick wall of here's what I've actually achieved that I'm allowed to enjoy and celebrate. And the things I want, what do you want right now? What's your next big goal, Isha?
Buy a house.
Okay, so I'm asking you to take yourself beyond a time when that's already been achieved into the future and to talk to me right now from that point. Right now, here, you and I, you are in the house you own in the future, and it happened like a year ago.
So
what's it feel like now that you've been there for a year after it finally happened? So it's like the year 2028 or whatever.
It feels really cool. Like I've almost like not bizarre how it happened, but it just all flowed. It was easy, and it's of course, because that always happens for me. It just does always, even if I panic, it always happens. It's always like,
see,
how did I end up in a house like this? Like it's like quite often it's quite bizarre. It's like, how did this? But then it's also, but of course it would, because
that's how everything happens. Yeah, exactly. So you got it now?
Yeah.
So when you're visualizing, it's really nice to take yourself to that. Remember when that cool thing happened that I wanted? Like to take yourself there, because it takes a lot of the pressure off. Whereas if I asked you, you know, if I ask you now to visualize when you get your house, like you go back into
terrible.
that. Yes. Thank you.
And what kind of house am I going to get? And is it going to have a view? And it's like,
but just a moment. Yeah. But just a moment ago, when you finally allowed yourself to go beyond it, look how relaxed you were.
Well, it's always the perfect. I've learned that the perfect thing for you is there. You just and it'll come when it's meant to come. I know that.
Yeah. See how can everybody else kind of feel into? Thank you, Isha. You're awesome. That's such a great demo. Can everybody else, like, did everybody else really notice the difference in Isha's energy? You know, even just then when she said, oh, it's awful, like to try and visualize getting the house. But then I said, okay, what if we go beyond that and you remember having gotten the house, I know it's all good. It's like, who are you? It's a real huge difference. So if you can feel that and she can feel that, imagine like what that's doing, that compounding effect of that energy going out into the universe, and also that internal programming, right? So every time, so really, and I'm using Isha as an example, but we're all the same with the thing we would really want right now, we really want right now. Often we condition ourselves to really feel the absence of something so that it feels awful when we think about it. So let's change that, okay? Let's change that. So please, when you visualization is so powerful, but use it for good, not for evil, okay? You get to do what you like with it. Like you can use electricity to cook your dinner or cook a person. That's a Bob Proctor quote. That one stayed with me as well. It's a force. It's a power at your disposal, and you choose how you use it. I just put a sticky note on my desk, says Jen, to remind me daily. Very good. And yes, I was saying to Isha during that scavenger hunt, you knew your list, but you didn't attach to it. You just decided to be curious and to get on with having a lovely time. So, that's some really good general kind of manifesting guidance, I guess. And specifically, like visualization is, yes, it's a process, but again, the most important thing is how you feel about it and while you're doing it. So what else have I got that I wanted to quickly go through with you? I'd like to actually do the quantum visualization with you. So just before I move on, a reminder that in this module, just module 4, you've got the lesson. It goes through why visualization is such a powerful process, how it actually works. It basically conditions your body, meaning it normalizes you to that vibrational state. And we want to normalize to that. Of course it happened. So that's why I say either go to a memory, because more good things like that, yes, please, or go beyond the event and all the other things around the event. So you don't have to like fixate on, I've got to visualize this coming true. Because if you do that, you're going to bring so much resistance. So go beyond it. Like, remember when that all worked out and we finally got to move into the house, or when I finally hit this target income in my business and how I celebrated? God, that was so cool. And you imagine yourself being way beyond that now and kind of fondly remembering how cute it was that you got so excited. And the other thing that's a really nice approach is, okay, so say it's, I want this dream home that we're living in. Apart from the house itself, what else is going on? Like, you can visualize yourself working in the garden or going out for a drive because everything is at your doorstep and you've got all this beautiful stuff to explore nearby, right? So just imagine all those things. You can visualize something like that when you wake up in the morning before you even open your eyes and go, oh my God, I love waking up in this house. That's it. That's visualizing. Visualizing isn't just about seeing the picture. In fact, that's only a small part of it. It's about feeling it. It's about really taking yourself into that moment. Okay, so having said all of that, does anybody, just before I do that, does anybody else have anything around visualization, either questions or like your resistance to visualization that we haven't covered or that you still feel a bit like, about? Because let's resolve that. Yes, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hello.
It's less a question for me, partially a question for me, but partially a question for others. No, it is a question for me too. Who am I kidding? So when
asking for a friend.
It's all good. I forgot how I was going to frame this, but basically for the visualization exercise, similar to Isha, sometimes I used to get caught up in like, oh, it's not here yet, and blah, blah, and then other things. I think somebody else commented that like other things come into their brain when they're in that space.
Mhm.
I totally understand. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. One of the practices I have for when those other things come into my brain is I just keep a little sticky note beside me so that if I'm in the middle of visualizing and that needs to come out, I just write it down, get it out of my head, and then I can go back to the visualizing.
Yes.
That's just a practice. I'm in the process of creating some quite bold visions for myself for the future. And so what I'm noticing is that I'm going through this exercise a number of times. And the first time I did it, I realized 3 days later that I created the safe version of my vision rather than the actual expansive version of my vision. So I'm working now on the third iteration of my vision that is getting more daring, and still, like, I think it's just a refining process. So do you have any suggestions for when, obviously our vision is never going to be the same in one container unless it's something like Isha wanting to buy her house. Fine. Mine is changing and expanding with these iterations. So what are your best tips for a vision that's constantly I'm going to say not quite in flux, but in transformation?
I think that is truly the only way to approach it, to allow it to constantly be in flux. Because the moment we fixate, like a visualization isn't about trying, it's not really about, here is my checklist, universe. Have you got the message, right? It's actually about reconditioning yourself to be the kind of person, to be in that energy, to have the mindset, to have the belief system where those types of things just come. So it's more about, what kind of life do I want to live? How do I want to feel about my life? What kind of experiences do I want to have? Than attaching to, I want this outcome. Like, why do you even want the outcome? Sometimes people go, oh, I want to make this amount of money. Okay, so why? Oh, because then I get to travel, I get to take care of my parents, I get to, hang out with my kids more. All right, visualize that. Not the dollar amount in the bank. Like, it's fun to have a check or something and pin it up there, but it's actually about just conditioning yourself to be operating at that level of abundance. It's about evolving into that version of you for whom that's normal. And visualization helps you fast track that internal evolution. And all the stuff is kind of irrelevant. And we don't want to attach to specific things. So yeah, it's nice to like create a vision, but it's always playful. It should always be playful. Like, oh, but what else? Oh yeah, that would be really cool. Oh, and then it's like this or something like this or even better. So it's never about, I have to be really clear on all the specifics. You can have specifics that really float your boat, but how it's going to look at the end of the day, you don't even know that yet. And it's not actually up to you. But if it's this or something better or something that feels just as sexy, how cool is that?
Yeah, kind of interesting, hey, how, for example, like my vision includes being completely mortgage free. And there are a number of ways that could come about, obviously. And at the same time, a great way to become mortgage free is to sell my house. So, and downsize or something, so it's like, those are possibilities. And I don't want to sell my house right now.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Sorry, finish what you're telling me.
No, it's kind of funny to think that there's any one of these possibilities and I don't know how it's going to come to form, and that's okay.
Yes. And the how is none of your business. None of us. The how is not your business. So one thing is imagining the outcome, mortgage free, fancy free, loving life, right? How it happened doesn't really matter. So when you're visualizing, please leave the how out of it, because the how kind of traps us into expecting things to be a certain way. And then we look at what's going on around us. And if it doesn't match the how we've decided is a possibility or how we would like it to be, then, we kind of get our back up and energetically we get all frustrated. So that's why going beyond it and going, right, you're mortgage free, you don't have a care in the world, you're loving life. What are you up to? And if you catch yourself think about, well, it happened because, and now we don't even have a house anymore, then let go of that, right? Isn't it funny? What we do, like the mental gymnastics we will try to do, how much we try to control the process because that's what we've been taught. But manifesting isn't about you building like a Lego kit, right? Manifesting is about being like having the mindset and the energetic alignment where all sorts of cool things happen. And the universe has got your orders and your shopping lists and your wish lists, like all of those things you've ever imagined. Like, wouldn't that be cool? It's all yours. It's like the moment that you visualize it and imagine it, like infinite possibilities are out there. The moment that you go, oh, I would love that. Oh, this would be cool. Even if in that moment you're going, dare I even imagine it? You're energetically linked to it. You're energetically linked to it. It's yours. You can't actually break that thread. So it's not about getting your hook in it and trying to reel it in at all. It's like it's all out there. So your job is to actually just be the person who can attract it, the person who it can flow to, the one who hasn't put up all these barriers and obstacles, because this little skinny obstacle course is the only way I've decided it can happen and how it should happen. And it can only look this way and be this shape, right? That's when you're closing down all the roads. This is a really good conversation. Really good conversation. So anything else? Anyone else have a yeah, but, and how do I manage that? Or any big light bulbs? Thank you, Tamsin.
So the whole how, I get the bit visualize, etc., but then bringing in the practical bit of actually putting your money towards whatever you want, because generally, not all the things, but generally some of the things that you want to achieve require money. And so you have your planner where you go, okay, all this extra money that I get, I'm going to put towards my overseas trip to do blah, 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 blah. And that's a how, I need money to do it. How do you sort of split that practical action to the visualization thing of it? That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. And this is where, we dance the dance, because we do the practical things, where we become really good custodians of our money so that we can decide, okay, these are my goals. And we do that in a way that feels really good and abundant. So say, for example, that you do your bit and you let the universe do its bit. So your bit is to take great care of your money, gain clarity on, okay, this is my next micro goal. This is where I want to go. But the things you're visualizing are actually bigger than that. Does that make sense? They're much bolder and broader. And so it's like there's baby steps that you need to take, which is where you're at now and what's the best thing you can do with your money. Then there's the big vision that you want to visualize, which is like, how do you want to do life? How do you want life to feel? That's really what you should be focusing on when you're visualizing. And then in between that is all the hows, and that you try to leave out of the equation. So you're just worrying about what are the next little baby steps I can take with my money, with opportunities that come up. Let's be open to them without attaching. And how it all links up and what the long-term outcome is, like you can't really predict that. And that's why, as much as when we do our money planner, we go, okay, what are those bigger goals? We still then just break it down into micro steps, because that's all you can control. You can control what you do with your money this week. So we we take control of that which is within our control, and we release control of things that are outside our control. Oh, that was a great way of saying. That makes sense? Helpful? That was a really good question. Thank you. Really good. Anything else? I'm really enjoying these questions and all the stuff that it's bringing up. And I think, visualization is one of these things where, yeah, that's a process. And yes, you've got 2 audios to follow. So in case you haven't watched the visualization module yet, there's the training module. And then there are 2 audios for you to listen to, because yes, you can visualize where you just sit down and go, oh, I'm having such a great time. Life is wonderful for 4 minutes. That's fine. You totally start there. If you want to take it next level, I've developed the quantum visualization process, which is a little bit of a process for you to learn and get comfortable with. There's a few little steps in it, but there's a longer version so you can go through it more slowly and go, okay, I see which bit we're up to. I see which bit we're up to. And I'll quickly walk you through that in a moment. And then there's a shorter version, which, because once you get used to it, you want to be able to do it in a short period of time, that you can start listening to. And then eventually the idea is that you get to the point where you can do, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but you can do all the critical parts of it on your own because you're so used to it. You're so comfortable with it. Gelly, did you get what I said about control? And I just saw your note in the chat box. Oops, what is happening in my Zoom? Have I dropped out? Oh, you want to hear it again? Okay, the challenge now is for me to be able to say it again. So to say, oh, this will be interesting. So because I was in the flow, right? So your job is to control the things that are within your control and to let go of the things that are outside of your control and have the wisdom to know what the difference is. Good. I think that was pretty much what I said the first time. And yes, absolutely. Make some good content out of this one, Jen. Where shall we go next? How much time have we got? It's 1:15 already. And I want to make sure we have some time to break up into groups and just talk about what you want to do with visualization. So I'll be really quick with this. We've had the best conversation, and that's what we were meant to talk about today. So this is in the training, right? This is the thoughts become things cycle. And so what I want to just quickly draw your attention to today, and sometimes we literally go through this process and we go, if you believe this, what would your emotions be like? What kind of thoughts would you have? What kind of words would you say? What kind of actions would you take? What if you had the opposite belief? And, it quickly highlights to you that your beliefs are really important. But the thing is that most people form their beliefs based on the things they experience or the things they're told, right? And they forget that this is a cycle, because your beliefs, which inform your perceptions, which inform your emotions, which inform your thoughts, then your words and actions actually give you the things you get out of life. So once you recognize that this is a cycle, you can take control. And yes, we're paying attention to all of these things, and we're going to proactively start shifting things, moving the needle. And the best tool we've got here is visualization, because what visualization actually does is it will recondition your body, which is this emotions part of it. It will literally recondition you. You are addicted to a certain body chemistry. Gay Hendricks talks about upper limits. And basically what happens is you're used to life being this good, feeling this good. That's your safe zone. And if you're outside and above that for too long, something happens to knock you back down because it's uncomfortable. And your nervous system just goes, this isn't safe. This is not, anything that's not normal is not considered safe by your nervous system. So it'll pull you back. So visualization is a great way to condition the body to being in that state. It's like happy habits on steroids. You're conditioning your body to be comfortable with a more expansive, abundant feeling state. And it really turbo boosts that. And the quantum visualization that I lead you through taps into those hypnotic processes to really do that the fastest and easiest way possible. So, use that tool. And of course, it rewires your brain as well. So it shifts your perceptions, your belief systems, your thoughts by rewiring your brain. And you're literally, when you're visualizing, you want to use all your senses so that you hear and imagine yourself speaking the words and taking the actions. So you're kind of doing a mental rehearsal and flushing and conditioning your system on all of these levels, right? So that's why visualization is so, so powerful, because it really starts to take charge of this thoughts becoming things cycle to create what you want, more of the types of things you want, which are a direct result of all of those things, all of those inputs. Make sense? If you've got a question about that, jump in, unmute yourself, let me know. What else did I have for you? We won't go through a visualization on the call today, but you've got recordings. And what I just really want to remind you of, and I really encourage you, so when we go into, we'll just split up into little breakouts in a moment. I want you to have a little think about, number one, I suggest you watch the module, because it'll, or at the very least, if you've seen the module before, the tutorial, there's a tutorial on the quantum visualization which explains these steps that it takes you through. And then listen to it. And it's up to you then what you do from there. But I think that you should start by going through the nice expanded version, listening to I think it's just shy of, might be 17 minutes long or something like that, the longer version of the quantum visualization. Listen to that. And then from there, depending on what you think is doable for you, either commit to listening to that for maybe a week before you pair it back to the shorter one. Or if you know that's not going to happen for you, just be honest about it and go, you know what, I'll just listen to the short one, which is 4.5 minutes or something. And I'll just listen to that instead. But decide which one you're going to be committing to, and set yourself a little challenge of, 7 days straight of visualization or 14 days straight, whatever feels achievable but exciting for you. And that's what we're going to share when we go into the breakouts. So have a little moment to think about what feels like a good commitment for you. Before we do that, these are the steps that it goes through. So heart coherence really helps you elevate your vibrational state and pull your mind and your body into electromagnetic coherence. If you're not sure what the hell I'm talking about, let me paraphrase it like this. It puts your entire system, your nervous system, your body, into a state where you're really open to this process being super powerful and really making an impact and connecting with that quantum field. Right? It puts you in the right state where this process is going to kick ass. The trance of infinite possibilities is really just a little hypnotic process that takes you a little bit deeper into your unconscious. So those first 2 steps are really designed to kind of mimic, what you might experience in a session with me. And that's why I lead you through it in the audio. And then we start the visualization. So receive it is when you actually start to imagine, oh, this is what's happening. Again, you can go to a memory or you can go beyond the event. And I think that the conversation we've had, hopefully you understand that there's so much more value in going beyond the event or other cool things that are happening. And that goal is just part of that bigger picture rather than I've got to visualize this thing because this is what I want, right? So you're visualizing it, but you're actually you're still just observing it. And then we like to throw in the Ho'oponopono, which is also in bonus module 2 as its own standalone process, because that's a really quick way to just release some resistance before we then fully step into the picture and actually imagine we're in it. So receiving it is like, oh, I'm letting that picture form for me and come to me. Then we do the Ho'oponopono, Anybody, hang on, can I see you guys all? Anybody have no idea what the Ho'oponopono is? Already familiar with it? Seen it before? Heard it before? Good. And it's about, the reason we throw it in here is a great way to just drop some resistance. So we're adding these extra things in because they just make this process so much more powerful for you. So exploring it is when you really want to be in it, like you're looking through your own eyes, you see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, smell it, touch it, use all of your senses. And then you just go, thanks, that's awesome. I love my life. I love all the things that come. Is there a particular part of that, especially those of you who've played with the quantum visualization before, a particular part of it that challenges you or that you're uncomfortable with or not sure about? Unmute.
Can I ask quickly, Maria?
Yes, I want you to.
So I've been doing that one for quite a bit, and I just want to be clear. So I just visualize kind of like the things that I would like to be happening in my world and what that feels like and the fun and the just how cool. And I don't visualize specific, like the house every day. And
no, God, no.
No, you know what I mean? Like I visualize sometimes it is like, oh, how cool this house is and walking around it, or it's all the flights they're taking, like, or whatever it is that I would like life to be. So that, and I try and not make any attachment to it. That's just how I do it. It just and then stand in it, what that's like and how cool it's felt and or feels.
Exactly.
So I think
right. So I think that the really important takeaway is visualization is not, and visualization shouldn't be about trying to make a particular thing happen. It is really, I want you to see it more as I'm up-leveling myself internally and I'm training my body and rewiring my unconscious to be really comfortable and to become normalized at a higher level. And the more often you spend time, and this process in particular takes you to that really deep level where you're deeply connected with your unconscious, and it's upgrading. You're constantly giving yourself a little upgrade, and everything good will flow out of that. So it's not at all about I've got to visualize the thing that I want. It's just I've got to visualize things that make me feel amazingly abundant, and that thing that I want is just part of that, and it's just an example of something cool that might be part of that, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So
Miriam,
what we might do, yes, Gelly.
What if you don't really know what you want right now?
That's perfect, because I didn't tell you to visualize. I just told you not to visualize specific things. I just told you to visualize a really great life and just like be curious. So you can go into the visualization going, what would be really cool? What would be really fun? When the kids are older, it would be so fun to go on holidays with them. And you just imagine yourself on a really cool holiday. You don't even have to care about where you are, what you're doing, whether it's school holidays or not. Like you're just on the beach in a beautiful place and your kids are exploring other cultures, or, what else would be cool is a really good question to ask yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Awesome. All right. I'm just going to split us into two groups because Jen's got to go. So half of you I'll keep out here with me.
Thank you very much. Have an amazing rest of your day, everybody. I'm going to take off. Great call.
Cool. All right. What I'm going to do, because I'm only going to create one breakout room, I'm scared it's just going to send you all over there and I'll have no one left with me. So I'll send Jackie over there with a couple of people, and I'll keep a couple of people over here. So I'd like you to have a little think about when are you going to actually sit down and, go through the visualization tutorial and revisit the quantum visualization. And then are you willing to declare that I'm going to set myself a challenge, so many days, whatever feels right for you, of visualization. And that's your intention from here. So let me, let's do that. So I'll keep Amy, Catherine, and Tamsin here. And I'll bring you guys back in a minute. Thanks, guys. Bye, Jackie. Cool. Hello.
Hi.
I don't have FOMO about not being in a breakout room today. So tell me, so Catherine, you're no, you're not the newest in this group, but tell me, visualization.
I think the best
What's
time,
the plan?
yeah, I think I have to do it while I'm still in bed. Just when, I'm waking up in that moment, that's when I tend to do it the most, because once the day gets started, forget it, I'm all over the place. Yeah, so that 4 minutes I find is achievable, and I have practiced in the past where before I even open my eyes, I'm thinking I'm already in this place that I want to be. I'm in this beautiful, luxurious bed, I'm just
Perfect.
already imagining it. So if I can do that daily, just before I jump out of bed, that's my goal.
All right. So that's your own visualization, unled, daily. How many days in a row would you like to be able to do it? It's just so you can mark them off and go like, 7 days of visualization or however many.
If I can do 5 out of the 7, it's a good start.
So 5. All right. So here's what I'm suggesting for all of you, that you just set a goal of, I'm going to do 5 days in a row, and maybe you'll start Monday or whatever, whenever works for you. I'm going to do 5 days in a row, so that it's really something where you can tick off as you go and feel like you're progressing, rather than I'm going to try and do it most days, because that's really vague, and it's not as, you won't get that feedback of, yeah, I'm on track, I'm doing this, I'm building a habit, because it is a habit. Will you get a chance to watch the module and go through the guided visualization?
Yeah, I've actually completed this module, but I wouldn't mind going back and revisiting it.
Yeah. So because you're going to be doing it when you wake up in the morning, and you don't want to fiddle with your phone and like plug in earphones to learn to do the quantum visualization, just listen to it once or twice whenever you can, and then just try and remember some bits, maybe just the beginning bits. Start with a heart coherence, then go into your visualization. And once that becomes a habit, then you can go, oh, what's the second step after the heart coherence, and start just dropping in those extra little things.
Yeah, sounds good.
So build it slowly. That's a good way to do it. Mm-hmm. Very good. All right. Amy, what's your intention?
Sorry, just trying to unmute. Yes, my intention is to go back and listen to that again tomorrow, because I know I listened to it when I first joined the program, which was just a few months ago, but I have not listened to it since then. So I need to do that. I'll listen tomorrow, and I intend to do it for 7 days, just the short ones after that, the 4 minutes.
Cool. Awesome. Love it. And if you're going that way, allow yourself to be in it as much as possible, and just enjoy the process, not to think, what is she doing now and what's she doing now? Like, just treat it as if I'm just being led through this thing and it doesn't matter, like not trying to learn it. However, when you come out of it, see if you can remember, what actually happened. As in, oh yeah, that's right, she always starts with a heart coherence. How does that go again? If you just reflect on it afterwards, that'll really help you become familiar with the process. And then down the track, when you do it without listening, it'll be there.
Yeah, and I like that slide too, because you kind of go through everything. So then I can remember, what are the steps in the process.
Yeah. And again, don't get too caught up on it. Like if you miss a step or two, big deal. It's like if you can do all of that, awesome. It's a really powerful process. But at the end of the day, if you just remember the things we talked about before I even pulled up that slide today, they're the most important things. Do it for the fun of it. Don't attach to it. Use all of your senses. 4 minutes. Have fun. That's it. Yeah. Good work. All right. And Tamsin, where are you at?
Well, I'm really good at doing the theory and watching the lessons, and I'm not so good at following through with the exercises afterwards. My speciality. But
would you like to get better at that?
I certainly would like to get better.
Oops. Is it me or is it Tamsin?
Applying what I learn and things.
Yeah.
And
so start with baby steps. So how many days in a row would be a really good starting goal for you?
7 days sounds good. And
Okay.
my plan would be to do the today and the weekend, listen to the long version, because I'd have more time to do that.
That's a good plan.
And then Monday to Friday, do the 4-minute.
Excellent. Hang on, I'm just typing a message to the other ladies, letting them know I'll bring him back. That's a really good plan. I like it. That's a very good plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set everyone a challenge, 7 days of visualization. And I'm going to suggest that they do exactly what you just said, because we've got the weekend coming up. Good time to revisit the process. Is there anything about your 7 days that you can think of that'll help you stick with it?
I think, like Catherine said, doing it first thing before you do anything else, because, I can have the intention of doing things and other things just become more important and get done first. And then it's like, oh, it's bedtime. And what have I done? Oh, nothing. Oh, it's too late. I won't.
Yeah. Doing it first thing in the morning definitely helps. Like I do all my kind of, I do all my stuff like that first thing in the morning, because then I'm all set for a great day. And it's a great way to set yourself up for the day. It's the same as when we talk about, it's like happy habits. If you get into that higher vibrational state, that good feeling state first thing in the morning, you become Teflon. Things will just sort themselves out so much more easily. You've got that emotional resilience. So first thing in the morning is good. And also, I didn't say it to the group before, but I do say it in the training. Try and have like your spot where you do it, whether that's your bed. And if you catch yourself falling asleep, you might have to sit up a little bit. But the same spot is really good. Like I have my meditation chair and my body's just programmed. As soon as I sit there, cross my legs, close my eyes, I drop in. So it really helps. All these little rituals really help. All right, let's bring back everybody else. Welcome back. Welcome back. All good. So we kind of ended up with going, all right, let's set a little 7 days of visualization challenge. Take the weekend to refresh, recap on the process. and then go for 7 days straight. Sound like a good plan, Jackie, for you guys too? Will that work?
Isha was saying that she's already doing it every day. So she should just carry on doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
And Gilly was mentioning that they're kind of operating in survival mode right now. So her goal is to just show up. So I've suggested that her visualizations should maybe focus on how good it's going to feel when she's beyond survival.
Exactly.
And she added, whenever that happens.
Yeah, whenever that happens.
Whenever
cool.
that happens.
Yeah, and you can do active visualization. Like you can go, you can be walking. This is where acting as if is kind of like an active visualization. You can be walking through an open inspection and going, oh, it feels so good to own a house like this. Like that's sort of an active visualization. Does hypnosis still work if you fall asleep? Yep, your unconscious is always listening. Your unconscious is always listening. Something's always sinking in. But, I prefer you awake. Isha, one final question.
The quick one I wanted to ask, sorry, is it's one of the things that when we talked, you said you had your list. And sometimes in the past, when I've had a list, then I kind of lock onto the list. Do you know what I
The
mean?
list of,
When we did the challenge, we had the list of the scavenger hunt. So we had an idea of what we needed to get. So is it a good idea to kind of just do a bit of wouldn't it be nice if the house
what else would be fun? What else would be fun?
And so it's not, because I know, like in the early days of The Secret, I'd do the list and then I'd attach to the list, and then why is it not coming? Why is it?
Yeah. So just remember the scavenger hunt. You had a list, but you didn't attach to the list.
Yeah. So
and you didn't decide that it had to be a certain way just because it was on the list.
Yeah, it was just to give a general idea of how the list is to give you a general idea of how you'd like the world to
Here's
be.
some ideas. That's what your list is. It's like, here's some ideas. What else you got? What else would be fun? What else would be cool? Like, your list is endless.
Yes. Okay.
Your list is infinite. Good work, everybody. All right. Well, I'm going to set a 7 days of visualization challenge for everybody in the group. And I will see you here next week. Next week, we're going to talk about congruence, one of my favorite topics. I'll see you then. Oh, and back to the normal time. See you now. Have a good day, night. Bye.